So this is the Alere INRatio that you all have, and we do provide you with the strips. Yeah.
So the first thing you'll want to do when you get this strip, and I'm not sure how this coincides with what Abhe's got on the screen, but when you first get it, you put in the test strip, and you make sure that the word INRatio is up, and you can actually turn the meter on by just inserting the strip into the meter. And as long as you can read the word INRatio, then you're in good shape. If you put it in upside down, it will fit, but you'll think your meter is dead. So just make sure you can read the word INRatio. And then on the test strip, there are actually 3 different channels, as was indicated there. And so there's a QC that's run alongside each patient test. And so the middle channel is where the patient sample is run. And then the channel on the left and on the right is the QC1 and QC2. So you can run that. You'll know that you've got a good test if your QC falls within the range. When you first put in the test strip, you should have a strip code that comes up. And on the outside of each strip package, there is a strip code listed. And as long as it reads the same number on your monitor as is on the packaging, then you're good to go. That's what calibrates the meter. If it doesn't, the way to change it is just with the up arrows on the round silver button, and you just move those up and down to each digit until it says exactly the same that's on the outside of the strip code. So you go up and down, and you can go up or down to get to each one, and then you just move through the entire strip code until it says exactly what's on the outside of the strip packaging, and then it's flashing OK. So you just hit OK, and this is when it goes into a warm-up stage and takes you to the next stage.
Now just a question here, if you accidentally don't have the correct code and you hit OK, what will happen?
You can actually run the test. It will not prevent you from running the test, but the results will not be necessarily valid. We can't confirm the results of the test.
And then another thing I found was when you press the button, move on to the next one, can you cycle through them again, or it's just once you've already set up?
No, you can, if you accidentally put the wrong code in or something, yes, you can go back and do it again. The other thing on the outside of the packaging that I always like to point out is the expiration date, and that will be listed on the outside of the packaging. And it's another thing that the monitor will not prevent you from doing if you have an expired kit or an expired strip. It will let you proceed, so you want to make sure to pay attention to what the expiration dating is. And by the time you guys get them, you should have about a year's dating on them. So you probably won't have to deal with that a whole lot, but it is worth noting since you can go ahead and run a test if it is expired. And then the other thing is to keep the strip in the packaging until you're ready to use it. And there are indicators on the outside. The reason we package them in these foil pouches is to protect them. And you guys are obviously on the road a lot with them in the heat and in the cold. So they do go down to 2 degrees Celsius, up to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So there is a wide range, but at night if you could take them in your homes with you instead of leaving them in the car or in the hot sun in your car, that is best too, to protect the integrity of the strip.
And one thing also I want to say is always place the monitor on a flat surface. So I had a clinician that she put in the strip and she put in the code, but then she dropped the blood and she had the monitor still in her hand. I think that causes an issue as well with the blood traveling at, somebody told me it has to travel at the same speed or whatever that is.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. You do need to have the monitor on a flat surface, and I know sometimes in the situations that you all are in with patients at their bedside or in chairs, it's difficult, but we do have a microsafe tube that if somebody cannot come to the monitor, that you can draw up the blood in the tube and take it over to the strip. There's actually a couple of different ways that you can put the blood on the strip. But that is important to keep the monitor on a flat surface while it's processing.
Okay. All right.
So that's a little bit behind.
There we go. So this was the changing, and then it is warmed up.
Yep, so it'll tell you when, and the other thing, if you notice, and it'll probably be the next slide up there, is that we don't want you to put any blood on the monitor until you see the green light in the target. And if you put it on too soon, that's not good. We just always say green means go. So while the monitor is warming up, as it does, especially if it's cold outside, that's a good time to prepare the patient's hand. Obviously this time of year everybody's got cold hands, so you want to get as much blood to the fingertip as possible, and you can do that during that warming up time. Once you make the finger stick, it's important that you do not milk the finger. It's fine to do this ahead of time while the monitor is warming up, and until you see the green light come on, and here on my monitor it's the green light is on. So do that, and during that time to get as much blood as you can. You also will make the finger stick, and then you will want to use the first drop of blood and not wipe away the first drop, and that's important. Are we going to do you?
Yeah.
It's great. So with this one, I'm actually, because I think, well, maybe a timeout, we'll see. So obviously you're going to clean the finger first, and you guys will be gloved when you're doing this. And do you have a preference on finger? Let the alcohol dry naturally if you can. We recommend using a 21 gauge lancet because it just makes it so you don't have to work as hard. We also recommend that you'll want to do it to off to the side of the finger, just because that will hurt a little bit less. And then let me, oh, you know what? I'm not at a very good angle here. Let me just see if I can get. So if I'm using, and this one isn't going to draw it up. Retake. Well, what you want to do, and I can just kind of show you with this, you'll want to just rest the microsafe tube, if you're using it, against the blood. And the law of gravity, if you can kind of do it this way, will allow it to wick up into there a little bit better. And you don't want to tilt it too far so that you get an air bubble. But then what you do, and thank you, Abe, is you will take this over to the green target, and you'll want to press on here. And this one released the blood just fine. Sometimes they're not made perfectly, and so if you go over here to release the blood and nothing releases, just put your other hand with the fingers and cover up the pinhole that's in between there, and it should release just fine. Once there's enough blood that travels up all 3 channels, you'll hear a beep. I don't know if you heard that on mine, it just happened. And then you've got about 60 seconds till you get your result. And sometimes it's a little bit less than 60 seconds, sometimes it's a little bit longer, just depending on the person, but an average is about 60 seconds. So that's all your hands-on time with that. And while that's processing, one other thing I want to mention is on these microsafe tubes, if this is the kind you guys are going to be using, they are pre-measured for the 15 microliters, which is the amount of blood that's required to run this test. And so when you get it to the black line, you'll know that you've got enough there. But while the blood is being drawn up, you don't want to squeeze the bulb. You want to tend to do that because it's a bulb and you'll want to squeeze it. But just hold it very lightly while the blood transfers into the pipette. And then, as I did before, just come over to the target and squeeze the bulb, and that releases it. So I've got my result here, and he's within the range of normal. So at least your result here. But it also shows you the QC results. And on the outside of the package, it will give you a QC1 range, which is 8 to 13 on this package, and a QC2 range, which is 13 to 24. So on the monitor, you can see on my QC1, it says 9.5, and so that falls within the 8 to 13. And the QC2 is 15.7 on this one, and that's within the range of 13 to 24. If for some reason your QC is outside of that range, then you'll get an error code. It won't give you a result. So that's the nice thing about it. It's fail-safe technology. It won't give you a bad or a low result if your QC is off. But what you'll want to do at that point is just do another test. Start with a new strip, do a new finger stick on a different finger, and run it again. And if for some reason it's still, the QC doesn't pass, then very likely your entire box of strips has been compromised somehow. But again, with the foil packaging, hopefully that won't happen very often. So that's basically it. Is there anything else you want me to cover, Abe?
The errors that come up.
I would always recommend calling our technical service if you get errors. A lot of times it is due to not enough sample, and it sounds like you guys had experienced that. And I always tell people that you'll want to err to the side of too much blood, because as you saw with mine, I had more blood than I needed, and it just pools around there. And so you don't, but if you don't have enough blood, then you won't get a good result. You won't be enough to get to that, all 3 channels at the end. So usually that's what it is. And as Abe said earlier, that if you are moving the monitor during processing, that could also cause an error.
And then this is the one that we've been seeing recently. We've seen error 414, 412. Something like that comes up.
And in those cases, again, I would probably call technical services with that. There are some interfering substances that could affect the results, and they would be able to help troubleshoot. But just so you know, the 444, the 414, that references each channel. So as I said, there are 3 channels where the blood travels up, and the first 4 would be the first channel, the 1 or the next 4 would be the second channel, and then the third one would be the final channel. And our technical services would be able to help troubleshoot in your specific situation if you have time, and I know you don't always have time. But if you have a minute and could call them, they should be able to help you, and I can make sure and leave that number with Abe so you have it. But they're excellent. That's who I call when I'm not sure, what happened with the result.
And then the QC high or low?
And that's what I had mentioned before, that you'll want it. That's the error you would get if on the outside of the package the QC did not fall within the range. And I would think I see it, more in the summertime than I do in the wintertime.
So those are the major reasons. What we'll do is once we get the video rolling, we will send the video out of her testing and her pricking my finger. And then we will also, I will include the 1877, that's what the number is. And I have called that number. They have a live person on support right away. So it does not take a long time. I did a conference call with one of the nurses, so I want you guys to make use of that. And on the first instance that you get an error, you should call them so that they can guide you through the whole process and the step once again.
Yeah, and as Abe said, they are there 24/7, and it is a live person that you'll get. So they are excellent at their jobs, and that's why they're there, is just to support you in the field.
And the last thing we want to talk about is cleaning, that we do want to make sure that your devices are clean. So use a pre-moistened disinfecting towel and just clean the outside surface. You don't have to slide your cleaning wipe inside the slot. So
in
just
fact, we don't
do
want you to do that, because it will cause the meter to ultimately fail. So as Abe said, just clean the outside, and those were new protocols that were established a couple of years ago. And just remove any blood with a moist towelette, but stay away from the area where the strip is inserted.
All right. Any questions? Kim, any questions? Dana?
I'm here, Robbie.
All right.
Answered everything. I haven't been having any error messages, and if I did have one, I usually retest.
Okay.
Good. Yeah.
That's what they're going to tell you too as
Yeah,
well. But
they will. They'll tell you that to try it again. But if it fails the second time, then you'll want to call them, and they can help with the troubleshooting.
Yeah, I haven't had that kind of problems really.
Good.
Nothing that's alarmed me.
Okay.
Great.
I think one time I had somebody's dog come up and hit their bedside table and got the junk through the whole thing, so I knew why it made an error. So I
Okay.
just retested.
Good.
Well, that's great. Linda, any questions? I know you had some, but I know you're doing fine now, so. unmute her. All right, Lauren and Eric.
The only problem I've ever had is not getting enough
Blood,
Blood.
yeah, on the target, yeah.
Well, even if you have like a bunch of blood and it's like pooling there, sometimes it will still say you don't have enough.
It didn't get up all the way to the channel. I know, sometimes it does, and I can't explain that, why, and I don't know if it's based on that person's blood, you know, that's thicker, so it doesn't travel as well. Hopefully you don't get that too many times, but I know that even when it looks like you have a lot of blood.
That's probably been the most common error I get.
Is that, now, do you put the blood right in the center of the target? Okay. Yeah, because the other thing they tell you is they don't want you to finger paint it in there, like if you miss the target, they don't want you to scrape it in, you know, they want you to try to get right on the center of the target. So, yeah, it sounds like you're doing it right.
Since we got these pipettes, I've not had that problem, but apparently our pipettes are not the best.
Yeah, we'll get the ones that Karen
The
has.
microsafe tubes, yeah, I can
Yeah.
leave you these too today, just so you have a number to order off of. and everything.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay.
All right, any more questions? All right, guys, I'm going to work with Karen. She has some more resources for us, and I'm going to try to put it on the university today or later this week so that you guys have that available as well. And then we'll also send you guys a link of how the test has been performed here, so that anytime you have an issue, plus, like we said, we'll send you the 1-800 number for troubleshooting as well.
Thank you.
All right, thank you
Thanks,
so
guys.
much.